house here in just a minute.
Filter in, gentlemen. Okay. Good morning. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for many of you that traveled here. I'm Josh Hurwit, the United States Attorney for the District of Idaho, and we are here collectively to announce the takedown of a significant methamphetamine trafficking organization that is believed to have distributed dozens of pounds of that illegal drug to Magic Valley communities. The investigation here that we're announcing today is the result of outstanding partnerships and teamwork between local law enforcement in the Magic Valley, the Idaho State Police, and the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, as well as my office, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Idaho. We are honored to have the agencies that worked on this case represented here today behind me, and we're grateful for the governor for being here today and supporting our collective efforts to root out drug trafficking in all communities in Idaho. Let me begin by noting that the cases being announced today are all pending trial, and that the indictments being provided to you today are merely allegations against the defendants, and that, of course, in this country, all defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt at trial. So this investigation began in 2023 when the Idaho State Police and the DEA began tracking a drug trafficking organization operating here in Idaho, with also connections to Arizona, California, and Mexico. Investigators quickly began working with local law enforcement in Jerome County and Twin Falls County in particular, and the investigation expanded from there. My office, led by Assistant U.S. Attorneys Frank Zabari and Chris Booker behind me, used court-authorized tools to track the defendants, identify further leads, and investigate further defendants, and amassing the evidence in this case. To date, 10 defendants have been indicted by a federal grand jury in the District of Idaho for drug trafficking offenses. An additional 10 defendants are being charged with drug crimes in state court in Twin Falls County and Jerome County. Details of each of the federal indictments and the defendants charged are contained in your press packets and the press release contained therein, which will be distributed shortly to you. But let me summarize. Several of the federal defendants have been charged with conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine. Several other of the defendants have been charged with possession with the intent to distribute methamphetamine. One defendant has been charged with possession with the intent to distribute both methamphetamine and cocaine, and 3 of the defendants have been charged with the actual distribution of methamphetamine, which, as alleged, occurred through what law enforcement refers to as controlled buys. As a result of the investigation, over 30 pounds of methamphetamine has been seized, and we believe a pipeline of methamphetamine coming into this community in this valley has been shut off. We look forward to justice being served in the cases we are handling federally and with respect to the 10 defendants charged in state court. Let me conclude by thanking our state, federal, and local partners for their hard work on these cases. The entities and agencies involved are listed in your press packet, but essentially it's every law enforcement agency in the Magic Valley contributed to this great team effort. I'm grateful in particular to our local partners for placing their trust in our office to work with them hand in hand to keep their communities safe. And I also want to thank the DEA and the ISP for their hard work and leadership on this case. What you see here today reflected in this group of partners, including through the governor's support, is a partnership that extends beyond any jurisdictional lines. We have federal, state, and local entities that have come together in pursuit of the same goal, which is to rid our communities of drugs and drug traffickers. There are no turf wars in Idaho law enforcement. There is only teamwork and collaboration to figure out the best way to accomplish our mission of keeping all Idahoans safe. Thank you very much. Now I would like to pass it over to Assistant Special Agent in charge of the DEA, Ron Geist, who will introduce Colonel Gardner and then the governor, and then we can take your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Josh. As you said, I'm with the Drug Enforcement Administration, and we want to thank everybody for coming out here this morning. But most importantly, I'd like to thank our state and local partners here. Some you see behind us. The folks that actually did the work aren't here. These are the supervisors, but we work very well in communities where there's a problem, and we partner up with these folks here behind me. And this is an opportunity for us to say thank you, because we couldn't do our jobs without your support, without your collaboration. And when a community has a problem that we can help out with, we have a single mission agency. That is what we do and only what we do. But these are times when we kind of get to the end of a case, that we can get permission from Josh and our prosecutors that we can kind of talk a little bit about it. But it is to let the community know that your calls or, hey, yes, we do pay attention. When we've had citizens call in and complaints, we'd like to come out and let you know that it does make a difference. We need your help. And this is kind of the culmination of that. Sometimes you don't see it immediately when that call goes in, or when you make a complaint, or you see the drug trafficking in your neighborhoods. But we have to follow the law, we have to follow the rules, so sometimes it takes a little bit longer to see the results. And today we're here, as you see with the packets, the results on an outstanding cooperation and investigation that led to several arrests. And I just again want to thank our partners, thank you as community members, and encourage you to continue to support your state and local and federal agencies. Sometimes the wheels of justice do move slow, but they do move. And if it wasn't for the fantastic partnerships that we do have here in Idaho, this case would have never happened. So again, thank you to our partners here. We appreciate your partnerships. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. Generally speaking, when we're talking about drug cases, they start off on a pretty small level. Could be something as simple as a tip from the community that is fed into a law enforcement agency. It could be something as simple as a traffic stop that occurs. Whether it's a state trooper or a sheriff's deputy or a city officer, when that case starts, the unique thing about here in Idaho is those partnerships start from the very beginning. Those cases tend to grow legs, they tend to get a little bit bigger. They will move outside of city limits, they'll move into other counties, they'll move into multiple counties and multiple cities, and was the case in this case, move to multiple states. And that's one of those things that we are proud of here in Idaho, and that unique perspective that from the moment of that case's inception, we are working together. There are no delays. We're immediately in this as a team from the start. If you turn and you look at the partnerships that we have here, quite frankly, in my mind, this should dissuade or make any high-level criminal organization second guess what they're going to do and if they're going to push their product here in Idaho. It's pretty clear that the governor has made it one of his emphasis that we're here to fight fentanyl and other illicit drugs and human trafficking coming into our state. But one of the things I think that gets lost oftentimes is he is just as passionate about making sure that those partnerships are strong and that we do it together. He understands that while we might be individual law enforcement agencies, we are one law enforcement community. And with that, I'll turn the mic over to the governor.
Well, Bill, you might introduce yourself. That was Bill Gardner, the new director of the Idaho State Police, who's is very aware of what we've been doing in Idaho. And Josh, I want to thank you and DEA for what you've done. You know, the number one thing is to keep the people of Idaho safe. And it's a driving factor in our incredible growth. And it's what's important to the people, whether they've been here for 6 weeks or 6 generations in Idaho. We also have a quality of life that's very desirable. But one of the things that we did in Operation Esto Perpetua, and Sheriff, you were there when we had I think our first meeting was here in Twin Falls, where we talked about everything, and of course this was mainly on fentanyl, This particular case is on meth, but it's the same characters that are involved in it. We want to do all we can to send the message to nefarious parties that Idaho's not a place you want to do this. And then we want to work seamlessly across all agencies of federal, state, and local government to make sure there is no siloing of efforts and that communication is seamless across there. So that if you're trying to get away with something, this is not the place to do it. And then the other things we're doing is in awareness. We started Operation Esto Perpetua. We did some baseline surveys, particularly among youth, about their awareness of the fentanyl problem. Like I said, this is meth, and what they needed to be made aware of. And we are very pleased with the current results we have of how we're moving the needle on awareness of it. You know, the problem with fentanyl is it leads to an incredible addiction, and then meth and other drugs are involved in it. But all of them in totality create a problem for our young people, for our families, and for our communities. Idaho proudly backs all the blue, everybody in law enforcement, and that doesn't matter whether they're at the federal level, whether they're at the state level, or whether at the local level. And that's why we want to continue to make Idaho the safest state in the union to raise a family. Thank you. You're back in charge.
All right, back in charge. Well, again, thank you for being here, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that we can.
I'll go on for you, Josh. You talked about how a controlled buy was, I guess, one of the methods or procedures.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on what that is?
Sure. A controlled buy, and our experts are right behind me here. A controlled buy is when law enforcement sets up essentially an undercover operation where the supplier of the drugs is unknowingly selling a quantity to law enforcement, which secures the drug so it's out of the community, and documents the sale, which then, of course, forms great evidence that the defendant or the target of the investigation was actually selling that illegal substance. Sir?
Regarding the level of organization in this enterprise,
Yes.
with the 10 federal charges and the 9 state charges,
Yeah.
is there any sort of organization that is like a known, either a gang or a crime organization that you would be able to name?
Can't give a name to it, but as you noted, name or no name, this number of defendants, this number of people involved in bringing these harmful substances to our communities is significant by itself.
How much is 30 pounds of methamphetamine? Do you have any way to kind of contextualize that
Sure.
as far as dosage or
Yeah.
how many?
Yeah, so first let me point out that it's over 30 pounds that was just seized. Of course, before the investigation got started, there must have been a more significant quantity that actually did arrive in the Magic Valley. We were talking about this, it's probably at least 1,000 doses per pound, is that fair to say? So in this case, we're talking about tens of thousands of doses of methamphetamine that are no longer on the streets and no longer coming into this community.
Could you give the states involved again?
The counties,
You said multiple states.
multiple states. So it's Idaho, obviously, and then the drugs were coming from at least Arizona and California and Mexico, where they originated.
One question I have is, I know a lot of dealers have been cutting a lot of their drugs with fentanyl lately. Was there any fentanyl found in any of these, in any of the meth at all, or was it just straight up meth?
Not any fentanyl in this particular case, but we have seen that in several of our other cases. I don't have to be the only one to take questions either, if you have questions for others. Well, if there's no other questions, again, thank you all for being here, and again, thank you to our partners for a great effort to get us to this point, and we look forward to, again, keeping Idaho safe through these great partnerships. Thanks very much.